What is the government's real job? Is it to protect our freedom, to keep the rich in power, or is it just an annoying bureaucracy that should leave us alone? For the last century, political theorists have been fighting a quiet war over the answer. In this video, we're going to unpack the three biggest theories about the nature of the state: liberal, Marxist, and neoliberal. Welcome to the state's identity crisis. Before we get to the theories, we have to understand a strange moment in history when political scientists basically decided to stop studying the state altogether. In the early 20th century, a movement called behavioralism took over. It wanted politics to be a pure, value-free science like physics. And since the state was a messy, philosophical concept, it was kicked out of the classroom. But then, the real world intervened. The social unrest of the 1960s, the failure of many new nations after colonialism, and the horrors of Stalinism made it clear you couldn't understand power without understanding the state. So, by the late 60s, the state was dramatically brought back in as the central subject of political theory. The three major lenses, bringing the state back in, didn't mean everyone agreed on what it was. Instead, it was like looking at a complex object through three different colored lenses. Each perspective, liberal, Marxist, and neoliberal, focuses on a different aspect and comes to a radically different conclusion about the state's fundamental nature. There is no convergence here. The picture remains blurred because they're asking different questions. The liberal perspective, the state as a referee. Let's start with the one most familiar to us: liberalism. The core liberal idea is that the state exists because free and equal individuals came together and created it through a social contract.
Why?
To escape a dangerous pre-political condition called the state of nature. But liberals disagreed on the details. Thomas Hobbes saw humans as selfish and violent, so we need a super powerful sovereign, a Leviathan, to impose order. Surrender your freedom for security. John Locke had a sunnier view. The state of nature was mostly peaceful, but property disputes happened. So, we create a minimal state only to protect our life, liberty, and property. Its power is limited. Jean-Jacques Rousseau thought society itself created inequality. His solution was a direct, participatory democracy where the state expresses the general will of the people. And Adam Smith gave us the classic Night-Watchman state. Its job is just national defense, law and order, and little else. Let the market handle the rest. Evolution of liberal thought. Liberalism didn't stop with Smith. It evolved. Thinkers like John Stuart Mill began arguing that the state shouldn't just be a passive referee. It had a moral duty to create conditions for a good life, which could mean limited intervention. This led to two important strands within modern liberalism: pluralism. This view says the state isn't all-powerful. It's just one actor among many, like churches, unions, and business groups, all competing for influence. The state's role is to manage this competition. Corporatism. This is a more organized version. Here, the state officially brings major interest groups, especially business and labor, to the table to make national policy together, creating social harmony from the top down. The Marxist perspective. Now, let's flip the script entirely with the Marxist perspective. For Marxists, the liberal idea of a neutral state is a fantasy. Karl Marx himself declared that the executive of the modern state is but a committee for managing the common affairs of the whole bourgeoisie. In simple terms, the state is not a referee. It's the hired muscle for the capitalist class. Its laws, its police, its policies, all are designed to maintain the economic system that allows the owners of capital to exploit the workers. The ultimate Marxist goal is for the working class to seize the state, and then for the state to eventually wither away once class conflict is over. The Marxist debate, but later Marxists had a big debate. How does the state serve the capitalists? Ralph Miliband argued the instrumentalist view. The state is quite literally controlled by an elite from the capitalist class. It's a direct tool. Nicos Poulantzas said it was more subtle. He argued the state is relatively autonomous. It doesn't take phone calls from CEOs, but its very structure, its laws, its bureaucracy, is designed to ensure the long-term survival of capitalism, even if it has to occasionally go against the short-term wishes of a few capitalists. Claus, Offe, and Jürgen Habermas added a crucial point. The state faces a legitimation crisis. It has to help businesses make profits, but it also has to appear fair and democratic to the public. When people see this contradiction, they lose faith, and the state faces a crisis of legitimacy. The neoliberal perspective. By the late 20th century, a new perspective emerged that was fiercely critical of the state, but from the opposite direction of Marxism: neoliberalism. Inspired by public choice theory, Neoliberals argue that politicians and bureaucrats aren't noble public servants. They're self-interested actors looking to get reelected or expand their budgets. Therefore, government intervention is almost always inefficient and corrupt, a distortion of the perfect market. Their solution is simple and brutal. Roll the state back. Privatize everything. Deregulate. Let the global market decide. In their view, the best thing a state can do is get out of the way. Impact and critique. This neoliberal thinking had a huge real-world impact. It led to a global reform movement in government called New Public Management, or NPM. Suddenly, citizens were customers, and government agencies were told to be more businesslike, with a focus on performance targets and efficiency. But there's a massive critique, especially for the developing world. In countries with high poverty, you can't just have a minimal Night-Watchman state. Who will build roads, schools, and hospitals? Who will protect the vulnerable? For most of the world, the state is still essential for development, welfare, and justice. The call to roll it back is seen as a luxury of the rich world that would cause chaos elsewhere. So, where does this leave us? The state is a chameleon, changing its color based on who is looking at it. Is it a necessary protector? A tool of class war? Or a bloated bureaucracy? The answer you choose depends on your ideology. This isn't just an academic debate. It shapes our world. It determines whether we get more socialism or more privatization. The key takeaway is that the state is not disappearing. The real question for the 21st century is not if we will have a state, but what kind of state we want to build.
If this video helped your UPSC prep, like, share, and subscribe to IAS Study Space. Turn on the bell icon so you don't miss the next class. Thank you for watching the video.